Hi everyone, welcome to the Celebrity Diaries. Jaheim Hoagland, a regarded American vocalist and rapper, boasts an extensive total asset of $4,500,000 hailing from New Brunswick, New Jersey. Jim's melodic Excursion thrived under the tutelage of his granddad, profoundly settled in the music business. His energy for music lighted during adolescence, prospering as he secured triumphs in neighborhood ability contests during his young years. Jim's advancement accompanied Divine Factory Records, where he outlined his underlying agreement and released two singles strikingly, Could It At Any Point Be Anyway? It was his 2001 masterpiece Ghetto Love, followed by Still Ghetto in 2002, that hardened his situation in the music domain, teaming up with lights like RL Dark Road and Falsehoods. Jaheim rose the diagrams, accumulating two top 40 hits and fantastic moving Still Ghetto into the main 10 on the US outline. His force was flooded with the arrival of Ghetto Works of Art, his third studio collection, which secured the numero uno spot on the diagrams. Jim's discography kept on expanding with ensuing deliveries. For example, The Makings of a Man in 2007, One More Round in 2010, and The Day of Appreciation in 2013. Jim's melodic ability hasn't slipped by everyone's notice, procuring him designations for renowned honors. Remembering 3 Grammy grants for 2013 in classes like Best R&B Collection, Best Male R&B Execution, and Best R&B Melody. Besides, he secured the sought-after 2010 Soul Train Music Grant for Best Male R&B Soul Craftsman, solidifying his status as a light in the R&B and soul music circles brought into the world on May 26, 1978, in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Jaheim confronted early difficulties as he explored a difficult climate. The misfortune of his dad at the youthful age of 2 cast a shadow over his young life, passing on his mom Julie to explore the intricacies of single being a parent, close by Jaheim and his 2 more seasoned siblings anyway. Their very close family, moored by Jim's granddad, the regarded soul vocalist Hokey Spear, gave a guide of solidarity even with difficulty considering his early stages. Jaheim sincerely shared the difficulties of growing up in the midst of the tumult of the undertakings in a meeting with CNN. He related how the charm of the roads coaxed driving him down an unsafe way, extortion with inconvenience and vulnerability. Yet in the midst of the bedlam, a significant second arisen when Jaheim found comfort in music. It was inside the limits of a recording studio encompassed by neighbors and companions that Jaheim's deep voice found its reverberation as he belted out Luther Veer's immortal exemplary Never a Lot. Of the staggering recognition that followed filled in as an impetus for Jaheim to diagram another course. Directed by his energy for singing and an assurance to rise above his conditions at the age of 15, Jim's ability became the dominant focal point at the famous Apollo Theater, where he hypnotized crowds with his interpretation of A House Is Definitely Not a Home, procuring the sought-after title of champion multiple times, overshadowed by his prosperity. Jaheim's star started to rise, drawing consideration from record names anxious to bridle his crude ability. Yet regardless of the charm of notoriety and fortune, Jim's process was full of difficulties and individual misfortune. The unfavorable loss of his mom at 16 years old dove Jaheim into a maelstrom of despondency, setting off a descent twisting into old propensities that finished in brushes with the law and times of imprisonment, regardless of the difficulty that interspurred his initial years. Jim's immovable purpose. Furthermore, his natural melodic gift endured through the ups and downs. He stayed immovable in his quest for melodic greatness, directing his encounters into the spirit and blending songs that would enamor crowds overall. Jim's process fills in as a strong sign of the extraordinary force of music rising above boundaries of situation to rouse trust and versatility, even with difficulty. It all started when his demo tape arrived in the possession of Devious Naturally's DJ Kilogram, a vital second that would reshape his life. Marking with KG's Heavenly Plant Records denoted the start of another section for Jaheim, finishing in the arrival of his presentation collection. Ghetto Love in 2001, donning loose clothing embellished with precious stone neckbands, Jim's picture. What's more, his profound voice immediately earned him the charming moniker of the R&B hooligan. His music resounded profoundly, with crowds mixing smooth tunes with crude, ardent verses that mirrored his own encounters in childhood. The year 2002 saw the arrival of Jim's sophomore collection. Still Ghetto, highlighting the graph-beating hit Put That Lady First, which achieved platinum status. The melody, propelled by Jen's own connections, and the illustrations gained from Obbs and his mom's encounters, hit home for audience members who found comfort and association in its strong message. Fans enthusiastically expected Jim's next melodic contribution, anxious to observe the advancement of his imaginativeness anyway. Life had different plans, tossing surprising impediments in his way. In spite of the rest, Jim's effect on the R&B crease stayed permanent, leaving a perseverance through inheritance that rose above the limits of time. In 2005, Jaheim, detecting the expectations of his fans, assumed control over issues. Setting up a recording studio inside the bounds of his New Jersey home, he set out on the formation of his third collection. A wonderful source of both pain and joy, he initiated Ghetto Works of Art, clearing up his decision of title for the CNN site. Jaheim communicated his significant partiality for the ghetto culture that molded his imagination. The year 2006 saw the revealing of Ghetto Works of Art, a melodic embroidery woven with the strings of metropolitan life, appearing at the peak of the graphs. Jim's collection rose to the sought-after position of #1, impelled by the intense help of his faithful supporters. During its debut week, the collection found homes in more than 150,000 enthusiastic hands, a demonstration of Jim's getting through allure and reverberation anyway. 2007 introduced another section for the prospering craftsman as he bid goodbye to Divine Plant, recorded his imaginative hatchery, and left on a new organization with Atlantic Records. Under the umbrella of his new partnership, Jim's gifts were enrolled in the production of the DJ Don't Remix, a coordinated effort with Gerald Levert highlighted in Tyler Perry's True to Life offering. For what reason did I get hitched all the time? Jaheim acquainted his fourth creation with the world stage, The Makings of a Man, in a bid to narrate the subtleties of human experience from the perspective of song and stanza, yet in spite of his immovable commitment to his art, basic voices arose, scrutinizing the essentialness of his melodic contributions. From stages like Pop, matters surfaced, marking Jim's topical collection as worn out and buzzword, an opinion reverberated by the tepid gathering of his single Never on the Bulletin Hot 100. Determined by the mumbles of drop, Jaheim stayed unfaltering in his quest for creative articulation, imparting to Board magazine his goals of realistic fame close by, his enduring obligation to a long-lasting excursion in music. As the years unfurled, Jaheim Way remained entwined with the ease and streams of media outlets, every section set apart by flexibility and unwavering energy, while the commitment of a fundamental film in view of a genuine story, weighted not too far off music, stayed the pulsating heart of Jim's story, an unfaltering buddy on his odyssey through the chronicles of time. And as he pronounced to Bulletin, his melodic odyssey was a long way from being done, bound to persevere. For basically the following 30 years after a time of contemplation, Jaheim got back to the recognizable bounds of the studio. The year 2010 saw the disclosing of his most recent creation, the collection One More Round, highlighting the spirit-blending song of praise tracking down my direction, back drawing motivated Ion from the heartfelt hints of the mid-70s. The track resounded profoundly with Jim's given fanbase in spite of its unobtrusive, rising to number 95 on the Bulletin Hot 100 outlines. In any case, Jim's imaginativeness gathered acknowledgement on a more terrific scope, procuring him 3 sought-after Grammy selections, a demonstration of his getting through impact inside the domain of contemporary R&B. In 2013, Jaheim re-emerged on the melodic scene with the arrival of Appreciation Day, a collection saturated with subjects of affection, misfortune, and recovery. Talking to the audience members of Wizardry 102.3 radio broadcast, Jaheim divulged the starting points of the collection's title track, Asia Factor, a strong ode to an affection lost, however not neglected at this point. Regardless of the genuine truthfulness woven into its texture, Appreciation Day neglected to reverberate with crowds, as expected to stamp a serious section in Jim's creative excursion, resolute by mishaps. Jaheim took matters into his own hands, reinvigorating his melodic direction with the commencement of Julie's Fantasy Music Bunch in 2014, shaping an essential collaboration with BMG Records. Jaheim tried to cut out a way remarkably his own, unbound by the imperatives of regular record marks. The zenith of this cooperation showed up in 2016 with the arrival of his 7th studio collection, Battle Love, a strong investigation of the hardships intrinsic to issues of the heart. Going with his melodic development was a visual change as Jaheim disclosed another persona to the public eye anyway. The gathering, to his refreshed appearance, missed the mark concerning assumptions featuring the intricacies of exploring the steadily developing scene of public discernment, as he keeps on exploring He has and streams of the business. Jaheim stays undaunted in his obligation to his art, a signal of motivation for hopeful performers and prepared veterans. The same next, we welcome you to investigate his home, now chateau in New Jersey. Jaheim presently lives in Hillsborough Municipality, New Jersey, settled near his old neighborhood. His home has 5 rooms, remembering one for the main floor, along with 4 totally remodeled restrooms. The completed cellar adds extra residing space, with the theater, exercise center, and art region meeting different way of life needs at the core of this perfect home. Thanks for watching this video.